Welcome back to Serving Up Success with a Splash. You all know me, Bruce Kramer, the corporate cockroach. And I'm joined by my preferred partners,
Angie Snowball, the Renaissance woman.
And I am Dr. Natesh Desange, the strategy doctor.
and boy, do we have a show for you. We have a very special guest, someone that knows about flipping the switch. He's the author, and I got to get my prop. He's the author of Life Switch, and it's available Amazon, anywhere a book's sold, audio tapes, you can go get it. But in addition to a great book, he's also a financial expert, an entrepreneur, and someone who's lived the highs and lows of success. Now, one of the things I wanted to do is I got to read this excerpt from the inside flap of his book. Before he turned 25, Joel Steele had flirted with jail, bankruptcy, and death. Yes, you heard that correctly. But from those depths, he emerged not just to survive, but to thrive. And Joel chose a new path to find the highest levels of personal and professional fulfillment. Along the way, he obtained a meaningful life and even an NBA championship ring. Now, imagine that. So without further ado, Joel Steele.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. I feel like I need to jump in and do a cannonball type splash here. This is awesome.
I know. I'm disappointed, Joel. More fireworks.
Oh, man, Bruce, you make me want to read the book again. It sounds so great.
It is. It's a great read. But hey, before I jump in with questions for Joel, I do want to mention to everybody, and it's the Joel's Choice. It's a bourbon Manhattan. And of course, it couldn't be a better choice. So cheers.
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 So with that, Joel, I'm going to dive right into a question. You open your book talking about life switch moments. And I'm curious if you could share one of the times when you realized that you were starting to run on autopilot, and you felt, you know what, this is a turning point. I need to do something. I need to make a change.
Can you
totally
share
an example of that?
Absolutely. I had a great, amazing life switch experience early on when I was a kid, and I start the book, chapter 1, with this experience, and I felt like I could fly. I was on top of the world. But over time, I forgot about that. I wasn't thinking about these incredible opportunities and the capabilities we have to do anything that we think of. So I started to become a hardened child, a hardened teenager, and I didn't want to stand out and forge my own path. I wanted to fit in. And in doing so, my bulb started to become more dim. And eventually, I was living off, like I talk about. I was just stumbling around in the dark, feeling my way around, trying to fit in, trying to make sense out of things, not really being in control or driving change, just really, instead of making things happen, I was seeing what happened. And what happened was I got caught up with some other kids who were into not going anywhere except causing trouble and getting in trouble. And these guys were fun. They accepted me. And so I started hanging out. And before I knew it, I thought I was a good person and a good kid, but I realized I had gone down the wrong path. And I was being creative, but in a bad way. I was doing things like getting a fake ID, stealing my brother's car, things I should not have been doing. And so going in the wrong direction, we were having fun, and it was just escalating. And it really hit me one day, had a life switch moment. I realized I've become a bad kid. I think I'm a good person, but based on everything I've been doing lately, I don't qualify anymore to be a good person. So I needed to make a change. So I slammed my foot on the brakes and I made a change. Now, what helped with this catalyst was getting caught for one of my petty crimes before I turned 18. And I was showed two jail cells, and the officer at the station who caught us with some stolen property said, "Which jail cell do you want?" And I must have just turned white. And I thought, oh my God, these are the kind of decisions that my life is being reduced to, cell block A or B. These are not good options. And so I needed to change and pull up. So that was a huge life switch moment for me, but something very positive came out of that. The hurting I was doing, I was hurting people, I was stealing. I started to use empathy and see what it felt like to be in someone else's shoes. And because I had been hurting people, I built this burning desire to start helping people, which to this day continues. And it's a large reason why I built success in the financial business that I still have, because I need to help people for me to feel like a productive human being.
Wow. Wow. So, the other thing that comes out in the book as well is, how did you go though? Because you've had a lot of success since then. How did you go though? What would you say was the secret from just moving from surviving to thriving? So you got your act together, got your feet back on the ground, but how did you move from that to where, man, you've taken the world by storm?
I know. I was going to say, doesn't he own like a basketball team and stuff too? I mean, this guy's crazy.
Oh God, yeah.
If you haven't checked him out, look him up. I was reading him like, this guy wants to talk to us. This is awesome. So I can't wait to hear how that happens.
Well, he was a part of the Golden Nuggets' success in the NBA to the point that he actually received a ring.
I know. It's crazy.
Wow, but anyways,
cool.
back to
so how does that happen?
Getting your feet back on the ground to, owning a basketball team.
Well, I talk about the ring and how that happened, and it was just really a crazy surprise. But I had worked towards getting myself not only in the room, but the right room at the right time for the right reasons. And although I didn't play basketball to qualify for the ring, I was part of the ownership group of the team that won the championship. I didn't have anything to do with them doing that. But again, being part of the team allowed me to be there. But the ring is a tangible symbol that I use, not to say, look at me or look at the ring, but look at what you can do. Never in my wildest dreams did I have on my bucket list of things to do, get an NBA championship ring. It just wasn't there. It wasn't possible until I decided to walk down a path of getting closer to the sport of basketball. So it's a decision. You're making a decision. Do you want to be successful or not? Do you want to pursue your passion or not? And so I talk about all the time, you're choosing every day, all day between option A and option B. Option A is the simple, comfortable choice without a big payoff. Option B has difficulty. It requires hard work and trying to really forge through sometimes what feels like a brick wall, but you make progress towards that goal that you have set, and you have to remove doubt from your own mind. We're oftentimes our own worst enemy, and we create this doubt. We put it in our head and listen to it. And what we need to do is we need to delete doubt, swipe it out of your head and out of your life. Like you would, if you're listening to music, you don't listen to songs you don't like, you skip them. And so why do you listen to thoughts that you don't like, that you don't think are productive and that are negative? So you're making choices. So I made a choice to get back involved with basketball. And I saw this path of how I can do that. And it was getting involved with an NBA team, or ultimately an NBA G League team, which was a little more affordable. And then good things came from there. But if I never signed up for that, I never would have gotten the ring. But it wasn't the other way around. I didn't say, I want an NBA ring. How do I get that? So you have to make sure you're doing things for the right reasons. And so I always say, make sure you have a why. Your why is really your fuel. Picture yourself standing there pumping up your gas. You need to do that to yourself. And that's putting the why in your tank. Why are you doing something? Why are you working hard? And again, making the decision to be a little uncomfortable short term, to be very comfortable, happy, and fulfilled long term.
Yeah. Bruce, I have a question. Bruce, can I just jump in? I have a question for Joel.
Absolutely.
So Joel, take me back to the this first switch moment that you call it. What do you think was the underlying fundamental reason you could perform the switch? Because I bet there were a lot of people there at the same time who were not performing the switch. So what was the underlying drive Was it emotional? Was it intellectual? What was it that made you think I got to do a switch when other people weren't doing the switch? Let's go really deep and find out what's in your soul that made you do that.
Yeah. Well, the first thing that it's the realization that we all have a life switch. And that's a key principle that I think can be looked past. That's what the name of the book is, but it's a way of thinking, right? People want different results. Well, you have to think differently if you want different results, not just do differently, but everything starts in your mind and funnels down from there. Whatever your mind is focused on, the rest of you is going to gravitate towards that. So you start with the basic premise that we all have a life switch. And as you see in the book there, I believe we're all pre-wired for success, fulfillment, great life. We're all pre-wired to have that ability. But if you don't provide the power, then it's just laying dormant. You're in off mode versus being on. So I realized that I had a switch, and I was fortunate to realize this at a young age because I had this early moment, even earlier than the one I talked about, where I realized I could do anything. I really believed I could do anything. And if you hear some other really successful people talk about how they got to where they got to, they will oftentimes tell you because they believed at a young age that anything was possible. They believed that they can do anything. And there's a great Netflix show about Eddie Murphy, which I know you all heard of Eddie Murphy. He talked about the fact at a young age, he didn't just want to be successful. He decided he was going to be successful. When you make that decision, like that's the switch. It's like, boom, the switch is on. And when you have that clear vision, everything else mentally and physically gravitates towards that. If you think, well, I want to be successful, but the odds are against me. Well, now you're not really able to see that anything is possible because you put doubt in there. And when it's fuzzy and not clear, it's really hard to get to your destination. Imagine going somewhere you've never been before in your car and not knowing the exact address. You're probably either never going to get there or you're going to take the long way to get there. And so that's the idea. Start with the realization that you have a life switch. If you want to live on, you have to have a clear vision of where you're trying to go and why. And if you have passion there along with you, that's really going to give you premium high octane fuel to get to where you want to go. And ultimately, when you find your purpose, you are now just enjoying yourself. You're living in the fast lane. You're soaking life up. You're viewing things in the best way and the right way. And that's where you go from living an ordinary life filled with struggle and challenges to having the opportunity each day to pursue an extraordinary life and learn from the challenges, realize that they're beneficial, they're helpful, they're not there to hurt you, they're there to help you if you view them in the right way.
Wow.
So that kind of takes you to like this 3P framework that you have. You already got into your potential. We went through, what stops people. And what I'm hearing you say is we stop ourselves. We have to get out of our own way. It's our own thinking. And then your next P that you talk about, you started to touch upon was your fuel, which is your passion. And I think, people who have listened to the show know that I think I struggled with that because at one point I'm like, oh, I think this is my passion, or maybe this is my passion. And I also think we change throughout time, right? As we grow and we morph different things we're passionate about. So what's your advice for helping people find that fuel? For someone who says, I don't know exactly what my passion is, or is this really my passion? How would you encourage them? Because like you said, we can't go anywhere without the fuel, and the passion's the fuel.
Well, most people these days, especially the younger generation, whenever they want an answer, what do? They hop online and they Google it, or they chat GPT it. Nobody and nothing, I don't care about AI, Google, whatever it is, nothing and nobody knows more about you than you. So if you want to get the most out of the world around you, you need to get the most out of yourself as far as what's in you. And so you need to turn off the radio, the TV, of course, after this show, not yet, but turn off all the
good advice.
Turn off all the distractions. Hey, stop watching the reels. I mean, I see my kids. It's like they fill any time with watching reels or snapping with their friends, and that's all fine. But you want to carve out at least 15 minutes a day. So when I say at least, it could be 20, it could be 30, it could be an hour. We all drive around. We might have time that we're going for a walk. But instead of going for a walk, listening to an audiobook or something like that, spend time with yourself. Let yourself be immersed in your own thoughts, because that's where you're going to start to get the answer. That's where you're going to start to learn when looking for something, you have a better chance of finding it, right? Like if you lose your car keys, you're like, oh my God, where are my keys? And then you're saying to yourself, keys, red key, gold key. When you're very specific about what you're looking for, you have a much better chance of finding it quicker. So if you're looking for your passion, be asking yourself when you're driving, turn off the radio, what am I passionate about? Was there anything I did as a kid? Was it a sport I played? Was it in a situation? Was there a day where I was so excited to get out of bed? I picked up my outfit the night before because I couldn't wait. I couldn't sleep because I was excited. And the thing is, there's no silly answer. I know people that love to get up and make their bed, that love to get outside and just get fresh air, go for a walk.
Crazy. Why make the bed? You're just going to mess it up again. He's cringing as he listens to this, but yeah, he's that guy.
But these are the clues. These are the clues to what it is that you're passionate about. Like I have this strange passion of literally doing puzzles. Like I help people with their puzzles, their financial problems and their puzzles and getting the right piece in the right place. But I realized as I got into this career that because I love putting puzzles together, putting the right piece in the right place, I literally will get jolted out of bed at night because I realized where a piece went. And that might sound like a worthless thing, but it's not, because it's a passion for doing puzzles. So I take the actual physical puzzle and I take it and I apply it into financial services. And now, boom, you've created a multi-million-dollar business because you're taking a passion and applying it somewhere where you can monetize it and do more than just a puzzle. And so that's a simple example. If you identify something you love doing, it could be a sport, an instrument, an art, or an act of something, maybe helping people, you can think about, okay, how can I apply this? Because if you're doing something that you love and something you're good at, really cool and interesting things are going to happen. And a lot of people are not matching up and marrying those two things. They're either doing something they're good at, but they hate it, or they're doing something that makes good money, but there's no passion there. And so it's trying to figure this out and then integrating it either into your day or around your day, because 24 hours a day is a lot of time for everybody. Celebrities might have a lot of money, but they don't get more time than we get. And they figure out, where to spend the time. And so that's a really important thing is to take time with yourself, understand how you're wired, right? Because you can feel literally like an electricity when you're excited about something. You get goosebumps, the hairs on your arms stand up. Again, you're excited. You're excited to see where the day is going to take you. So you want to find more opportunities for that. And sometimes you want to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation to feel a sense of adrenaline and feel alive, because that's the feeling. It's the natural high that most of us don't get. And that's why so many people resort to, non-natural highs, alcohol, drugs, vaping, all this other stuff. They're searching to feel good. And I think there's no better feeling than the natural high of doing something you love and being excited about it.
Joel,
I was going to give it to you, Dr. Natesh, because I'm going to wrap up my piece and give it to you.
I want to ask you before I forget, before I go into anything else. Can you describe, you're talking about highs and spending time with yourself. Can you describe a typical day for everybody? I know your answer may be there's no typical day, but in terms of this on-off, spending time with yourself, can you describe a typical day for us from the moment that you get out of bed? Can you do that?
Sure. So I'm a person who doesn't like repetition. Ironically, I'm doing a lot of the same things in my life, but I sprinkle around the day, my day job, running this financial practice I've been doing for 22 years. I sprinkle these things around it that I have so much passion for that it actually charges me up and keeps me fresh to come and do what I do at the office for 6, 8, 10 hours a day. And I don't mind doing it because I'm getting fulfilled and passion around it. That makes sense. So it's not sometimes that I'm so excited to talk about the stock market, especially when it's down, but I'm fine to do that because I'm finding other ways to be fulfilled. So a somewhat typical day for me, doctor, is I try to get about 8 hours of sleep, because if I get less than 7, I'm a monster. And I know that. And so it's getting the right amount of sleep that's optimal for me. And I like to start my day with a workout. I send my kids off to school. I get a workout. That's my first check off the day of something on my to-do list. When you check things off your to-do list, it charges you up. And so you think about this. You get out of bed every day. You start off like a cell phone, 100% charged. And then you start to go down, right? So I do. Then I get my first workout in. Boom, back to 100. Excited. I got something done. I have usually a streak going of workouts, but I feel good. Working out actually not only charges you up, but it mentally brings you back and gets you sharper, and you feel strong and confident because you feel like you've sort of taken care of your internal mechanism as far as your body. So I do a workout. I usually start off eating healthy food, so I'm not going to eat a bunch of junk and slow myself down. The way you start your day is generally how you finish your day, in my opinion. So if I get off to a healthy, good start, I'm probably going to have a healthier, more productive day. And then, that's another day that's, a good day, good quality day. Then I will work. After work, I will go home. I have family dinner with my family whenever possible. That checks another box of fulfillment because I love spending time with my family, and everybody knows that. Everyone's happy to have family dinner time and catch up on the day. Then after that, I go back to working on things related to my book and my speaking engagements, getting out on different podcasts, different articles and interviews, scheduling conversations like this, because my book, I think, is fantastic. But what's more important is that other people find it to be entertaining and inspiring. And in order to do that, people need to get the book in their hands. So I'm trying to get the book out there. And when I get positive feedback about the book, something I said, something I did to inspire somebody, that really charges me up. And so most of my day, I'm like 100% charged, where I'm not even unplugging myself because I'm doing things that get me fired up, excited. And I check my email. I'm not nervous about the negative email. I'm excited to see what possibilities might drop into my inbox. So I'm doing things in a more opportunistic way, not what bad can happen today, but more like what's going to happen today. Let's find out. And I'm excited to embrace that.
Yeah.
You're very strategic, but you've got a very healthy mindset too. You've got very healthy habits. Talk to me about strategy, and talk to me about the difference between consistency and intensity in your life and your day.
Yeah. So I am very intense. That's the one word I would use to describe me if I had to pick one.
No.
And
That's the other
but
intense guy.
I realize that can be used in a good way or a negative way. And so if I find myself not getting enough sleep or getting frustrated and starting to spin out of control, I will sort of pull back and unplug and get myself in a situation where I can get back on track. Because again, I know that intensity can backfire on me. And I used to have that early in my career. I would have let's say a challenging day, and I wanted to see if I can make more out of it. And it was almost like screwing a screwdriver in the screw. It feels like it's working, but sometimes it is, and other times you are just going around and around stripping the head of the screw, which can be counterproductive. So it's being aware: are my efforts productive, or are they backfiring and unproductive? And there are some days, as positive as you can tell that I am, there are some days where you just have to go, okay, it's just not my day. And you move on, because the reality is tomorrow is a new day, right? Whether you have a great day or not, every day begins again for everybody. And so that's the thing. We need bad days, because if we didn't ever have any bad days, we wouldn't know what a good day is. It would just be another day, right? And so we need
I'm
that
glad
same
you said
thing.
that. Today's my
Yeah.
bad
A
day.
lot of age. I mean, you're very, Joel. I've got to say, you're very sage. You're very wise. You're an entrepreneur. That's obvious. You've got this intensity, but you are very wise, because you do this a lot of self-reflection. We've been on doing this just for 25 minutes. We've never met before. Angie and you have never met before, but we can just tell immediately you've got this energy and vibe. But underneath it all, I don't know how you developed it, and it's my next question. I want to know how you did. You've got this wisdom when to switch off, when to interrupt your day and recharge. How did that sage thing develop? You didn't always have it, because you nearly ended up in cell block A. So, how did it happen that you got this sage like persona? I'm really impressed by how you speak and how you come across. It's fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It was experiencing life. When I was a kid, I wanted the answer to everything. I wanted it now, right? There was that intense element that was backfiring. Like, I needed to know why we're here. Why am I here? What's my purpose? I need to know right now. And what I realized I needed to do was I needed to live more life. I needed to get out in the world. I needed to try things. I needed to have wins and have losses. And over time, I did exactly that. I had successes. I had failures. I learned from all of these. I learned most from the failures. And ultimately, I built a streak. And I talk about this in the book. The power of the streak is immense. If you can get yourself on a positive streak, whether it's working out, eating healthy, building businesses, building days in a row of positive activity. So if you're in sales, sales is a tough job. If you can have days where you know you're doing what you need to do to hit or exceed your quota, minimum activity, if you are hitting the number of contacts or number of calls, emails, door knocks you can have, regardless of what the results are, that's a successful day. And success, big success we think about, like the house, the money, the accolades, whatever it is, they all come from seeking out daily success. So people want success, they want it now, but you have to do it one day at a time. So I basically built a streak of believing that things are possible. In fact, anything is possible. I deeply believe that. You cannot convince me otherwise. And I go after things like that. And so after having success here, then here, then here, all these thoughts and all these successes have built up. And then even when I came crashing down when my restaurant business failed, I questioned for a short period of time, is anything possible? My fire was put out, my switch was turned off, but I still had this pilot flame. This pilot flame in me was lit, and it was saying, hey, anything is possible. This is just going to be a lot harder than anything you've done before. And having gotten through that and getting out of this debt that I had debt of close to $500,000 at 24 years old. And I paid it off in 2 years of getting into the financial services business and continued to ascend and build my business. So even though I almost got knocked off course, my switch went off for a short period of time, I got it back on by realizing that, yes, you can do this. I'm going to do this. I chose success. I decided I was going to be successful. I decided that although I had to admit failure with my business, I wasn't going to accept it. And that's what anybody can do. That's why I'm so excited about the book, because it's probably the most relatable success story you're going to read. It's not something you're going to read and go, well, good for him. That's nice. You're going to be thinking about your own life and your own story, and that you're writing the script to your own story right now. And the best movies are when the main character has that moment, that point in time where you don't know if they're going to survive or make it. And generally when it's a movie, they do get back on top. But, they have some success, they have maybe a dip, and they're just kind of like this, right? So life is going to be the same way. And the best life lived is one that has challenges. When you can look back and be proud of what you've done to just keep moving forward and create the life that you hopefully can envision that you want to be living, you literally thank yourself. You're proud of yourself, especially this time of year. You become grateful for the things that you did to get you where you are. So again, choice B is the hard choice, hard work, mentally and physically, but it has a massive payoff that you will be thanking yourself forever, and even generations in your family, if you can persevere and pull through and turn this thing around if you're going through a tough time.
So we're getting close to the end.
Yeah.
Andrew, can I do a quick one more? Because I'm so excited about this.
Well, actually, let me wrap up, because I really think it's important that we have the 3 Ps framework, because to me, that's the reason that people will want to read the book, because there's so many different books out there that offer all these types of things. But when you have something tangible like Joel has with these 3 Ps that are really telling me what I'm going to learn, I think that's important. So I have not finished it yet, but I have gotten through a lot of the potential, which you've already talked a lot about today. You talked a lot about passion, how to find your passion. And the last piece, which is where I'm hoping you're going to tell me the book finishes this. I think one of the things people struggle with is after they believe they can, they've got the passion. How do you tangibly link that to a purpose? And you mentioned your financial business is not necessarily your passion, but it's a way that helps you meet your purpose. What other things can you tell people who are struggling to find their purpose? How do we make all this into a purpose? And then you can talk, Nitesh.
No, brilliant question. Brilliant question.
So, everyone's heard the expression that life is a journey, not a destination. But you have to really think about the fact that that's true. And finding your purpose is the same way. I don't expect everyone to find their purpose immediately after they're done the show today or done reading my book. As long as you are pursuing finding your purpose, that's part of the journey. That's part of the fun part. When you find your purpose, like I believe I have, which I'll talk about in a second, it's like you feel like a kid playing in a sandbox again, right? You kind of go back to where you started. You're just having fun. It's playtime. And so for me, my purpose went from all different things. It's evolved over the years. But helping people is what my purpose was. Helping people with their fitness goals, with their nutrition goals, with their financial goals. And I realized that, you know what? I have more potential than helping people on a one-on-one basis in southern New Jersey and Pennsylvania, that I could do so much more to help people. And that's when my purpose shifted from me enjoying my life and helping people to helping other people do what I did. And that's to flip their switch on and to find their purpose and just to live that out. And I talk about purpose similar to a pro athlete. You know, most athletes don't love to practice. They don't like to watch film. It's part of the job. The fun part to them is when they go out on the field or on the court and they're playing their game. They're shooting the basketball. They know what to do instinctively. They're in the flow. They're excited to be there. They're pumped up beyond belief. They have all this adrenaline. That's the fun part. And finding and living out your purpose is the fun part. So potential is the exciting part, because when you realize that you can do anything that you want to and you remove doubt, you will start to see things happen with that gravitational pull. That's exciting. Passion is the interesting part, because you probably don't even know, or you might not know what it is within you that you're passionate about. And it's different for everybody. That's why it's interesting, right? You want to be an interesting person. People don't ask me to talk about the stock market. They don't want to hear about what I do every day as a financial advisor. They want to hear about the book. They want to hear about the places I've gone, the people I've met, the sports teams that I own. So I like to tell people, be interesting. It's fun. You know, I think it's boring to be a financial advisor or just a financial advisor. You know, and I don't want to be identified as just a financial advisor. So I've done things to make sure that that doesn't happen. And it's fantastic. I always said I do not want financial advisor on my tombstone. And then again,
Well, you did a good job. There's no room on it for that.
that's right. Yeah. But wrapping it up, purpose again. Purpose is the last part of the book, because that is sort of, once you find it, all you want to do is live the rest of your life living out that purpose, whatever that is. And that's just sort of riding off into the sunset, but not being lazy, because your potential, as high as it can go, it's unlimited. It can always go higher. And so it's continuing to evolve and look for opportunities where you can make an impact in this world to maybe help people, feel good about yourself, whatever it is. But again, spend time with yourself. You will figure out your 3 Ps. And if you get out of your own way, I mean, the sky is the limit. I mean, it really is. That's what's so true and so exciting. I really want people to put this book down and just jump up. Like, yes. Like when I give my talks about this book, I feel like I can shoot electricity out of my hands. That's how fired up I get. And I want people to feel that and start to take on some of that in their own lives and be excited to be themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is. It's very exciting. I have started reading it, and I love it. So Bruce just held up the book, and I know Natesh probably has another question, but just before, hopefully we don't forget, where do we find it? Where's the best place to buy it, and where do people find you?
Yeah, well, most people have an Amazon account, so a lot of the books are sold on Amazon. You can Google Joel Steele Life Switch. You'll see it's all over the place. It's in Walmart. It's at Barnes & Noble. Great place. If you buy 2 or more books at Barnes & Noble, it's free shipping. And if you have a membership to Barnes & Noble, you can get, I think it's a 10% discount. You can also visit my website, bookjoelsteele.com. And the thing that we haven't talked about, which is the thing I'm most excited about, is if Life Switch sells 1 million copies in any format, ebook, audiobook, or hardcover. When Life Switch sells 1 million copies, I'm going to sit down and personally write out $1 million to charity.
Wow.
Well, I bought mine.
I've been somewhat silent. This is the most silent episode I've had. But I got to tell you what. So I think I'm going to jump into the takeaways because we're wrapping up. What I liked so much about this, Joel, is that people chase all kinds of tools and methodologies, etc. And what you've made perfectly clear to anyone listening, it begins and ends with you. You have everything you need. If you can just stop long enough, the 3 Ps, the potential, passion, and purpose, but then use that as a strategy around how you manage your life, your health, the balance that you bring, becoming interest. Everything happens through you. Life does not happen to you. You have the power. You have everything you need to be successful. You don't need tools and methodologies and stuff. You need time with yourself, and you can make anything happen. That it's an incredible an incredible message.
Yeah, thank you, Bruce. And it's true. It's simple. It's effective. The book has no charts, no graphs, no stats and studies for the most part. It's just simple, effective, entertaining, inspiring conversations told through the story of my life. And again, when people read it, they start to think about their own life, past, present, and future. And that's the key. You're right, Bruce. It's totally within you. You're wired for all these great things. But if you don't flip that switch and put the power on, it's all for nothing. So don't waste it. Don't waste your talents, your skills, your potential, all that good stuff. Let it out and see what happens, because you're going to make things happen. It's going to be exciting. You're going to see it relatively quickly, but you have to truly, truly believe it, because again, the mind drives everything that happens. It's all up there, how you perceive things, how you view opportunities. So realize and appreciate the power of your mind and use it for positive, not negative.
Fantastic.
Angie, Dr. D, any last words?
No,
Go
I
ahead,
just want to
Angie.
say thanks for being here and walking through these 3 Ps. Again, I find it really powerful when people can make a framework around these important things. It helps you make it real, tangible, and do it. So I'm very grateful that you brought the 3 Ps into my life, and have already started thinking about ways that I can start make those real in my life and make it happen. All right, Dr.
Love it.
D.
Love
So
it,
I did have a
Angie.
question, but I'm now going to frame it into a sort of comment. So what the great thing about you, Joel, you have so much in common with Bruce and Angie. You're successful, but you have not let it go to your head. The question was going to be, which we can't answer because we ran out of time, how have you allowed it not to go to your head? I know why Bruce and Angie didn't allow it to go to their heads, but you haven't either. And I think that's one of the best things we can say about you, in a plethora of really great things we can say about you.
Well,
Thank you.
I'm going to take us home here because we are running up. I think there's a possibility, Joe, we may ask you back. Hopefully you'll want to come back. But to everybody out there, please hit the like, the subscribe button. But we cannot thank you enough, Joel. This has
Thank you,
just
Joel.
been unbelievable. And to everybody out there, cheers and flip your
Cheers.
damn switch. Thank you.
Yes, guys, thank you.
Cheers.